Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt, I'm the Whiskey Nerd, and this is batch 1 of Lambay Whiskey's Reserve Cask series of single malts. So let me get into the glass and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. Now, Lambay Whiskey are a very nice small producer here in Ireland, and they're very much focused on a kind of a collaboration, a long-standing collaboration they've had with Maison Camus, which is a cognac producer, another small cognac producer in France. Now, Camus make some very nice, very kind of top level cognacs, so it's no surprise that Lambay are finishing their whiskey in those cognac casks because it gives a really nice deep flavour to the whiskey. For those of you who don't know, Lambay Whiskey gets its name from Lambay Island, which is a small island just off the coast of Dublin, about 3 miles off the coast of Dublin here in Ireland, and it has this nice kind of microclimate because it's in the Irish Sea, so it's not going to be really cold, but it's also not going to be too hot. It's exposed to the sea air, but it's not going to be very stormy. It's just going to be a nice, quiet, cool climate where the whiskey can really take on some nice flavors. The whiskey is matured in what they call the sea cask room, which is open to the air, so the whiskey casks will take on some of those kind of iodine-y, salty, kind of nice characteristics you get from the sea air. It'll be somewhat reminiscent of like the influence the sea air has on Islay Scotch whiskies, but this is a single malt, but it's not going to be anywhere near as smoky or any kind of smokiness that an Islay whiskey would have. It'll just have some of those same kind of nice, salty, savoury, iodine-y notes that you would get in those whiskies. Lambay do have a couple of whiskies under their belt, and this is the Reserve Cask series. This is batch 1 of the Reserve Cask series. This was released just a little while ago in June of 2022. Batch 2 will be out by the end of 2022, and batch 3 will be released in 2023. So it's going to be a nice kind of series of whiskies that they put out. Going to be all influenced by cognac, going to all be influenced by that sea air, and it's going to all have this nice kind of profile to it. So the whiskey itself, it is bottled at 43% ABV, so it's not down the floor. It will have a nice bit of weight, it will have a nice bit of profile in the glass, and it was aged first off in bourbon barrels and then finished in those cognac casks, like I said, from Maison Camus. So it's going to have a nice strong cognac influence. And on the back of the bottle, they do have this nice kind of flavor profile kind of picture here. I'll put a close-up over there, which you can see. And they do say that this whiskey is going to lean more into the spicy, salty, malty and woody kind of flavor characteristics as opposed to maybe the sweet and the fruity notes. But it does have a nice bit of sweetness to it, but it definitely does lean into that cognac influence from the Maison Camus cognac casks. So that's enough talking, let's go in for the nose on this. Immediately you get that cognac influence. Like I said, I mean, they really are focusing on that cognac influence and really showing you what it can do. It's got this nice, deep, woody, kind of oaky, almost kind of smoky, like an oaky smoke coming through the glass. Yeah, there's this nice, kind of deep, charred characteristic coming through it. Kind of like a tobacco, a nice, deep kind of smell coming through. You get a little bit of saltiness and a little bit of brininess, and that's all sitting on top of this nice, deep caramel maltiness coming through. And I will say, they say there's not that much sweetness, but there's definitely a huge amount of caramel sweetness for me coming through. And maybe a little bit of banana, like a caramelized banana, not like the fresh fruit banana, but that banana has been cooked over it, with a nice bit of sugar, really nice and caramelized, definitely coming through there. And as well, a bit of herbal notes. So if you think almost like rosemary that's been cooked over a campfire, where you get that rosemary smoke, that's kind of coming through. And like I said, it's going to have that kind of iodine-y, salty note reminiscent of like that Islay peatiness, but it's just light. It's not like peat smoke, it's just kind of has that characteristic to it, nice kind of deep rounded flavors. So let's go in for the palate. Okay, on the palate, definitely a bit of kind of almost like charred coconut coming through, bit of smoke, bit of oakiness coming through. Again, that tobacco, that deep maltiness coming through, but really leading with that kind of charred coconut. I've had a few cocktails with charred coconut in them. It has a nice distinctive flavor, and that's definitely coming through. That cognac influence, the oakiness coming through, really nice and rich. Again, that caramel coming through, really nice and rounded. So I'm going to go in for a second sip and see what kind of fruitiness I can find. Second go around, I'm getting like some dried berries, almost like a dried goji berry. It's nice, it's kind of tart, but it's still like a nice berry flavor coming through. It's also a bit of saltiness, like I said, gonna have that characteristic coming through from the sea air, and then a hint of pepper, like a white pepper right at the end, nice and tingly, very nice, and just kind of delivering a really nice kind of savory profile to the whiskey. It does have this really nice, rich, kind of almost honeyed mouthfeel. It's nice and thick and nice kind of deep flavors. It does lean definitely into those salty, those savory tastes. It's not going to be like a nice, light, fruity single malt. It's going to be definitely more reminiscent of those kind of Scotch single malts, except of course without that peatiness. It just gets that smoke coming through from the casks, from the cognac, from that oak smoke coming through. So let's go in again, but we're going to talk about the finish. Okay, on the finish, the caramel fades down, the smoke comes back up again, the saltiness fades down, you get that pepperiness lingering on, a bit of that rosemary smoke from the nose, that comes back, the coconut again makes a bit of an appearance. It's kind of nothing new, I'd say, comes through in the finish that I haven't had in the nose and the palate. Just a nice kind of continuation of a delivery of flavors from the nose into the palate, and again then into the finish. Just a nice kind of rounded offness. I'm getting like a feeling like I've had a peated whiskey, like I've had a nice heavily peated whiskey. I've got this kind of lingering mouthfeel with that iodine, with that kind of saltiness that I would normally expect from a peated whiskey. It's just coming through in a nice kind of delivery. If you like cognac finishes on a whiskey, or if you've never had a cognac finish on a whiskey, but you want to know what a cognac influence can have on a whiskey, this is definitely one to try out. Or if you can't get your hands on this, the limited kind of reserve cask release, Lambay do finish all their whiskies in cognac casks, so it's definitely something to look out for. Very interesting, kind of a nice combination of flavors. You get that saltiness, the savory notes that you normally get with a heavily peated Scotch whiskey, but here with a much lighter Irish whiskey, you still get those caramel notes, you still get that maltiness, but also you're just not being overwhelmed by all that peat smoke. It just allows that sea air characteristic from that microclimate on Lambay Island to really shine through, and for that cognac influence to really deliver. So all in all, yeah, I like this whiskey. I definitely enjoy those flavors, so I'm going to keep on enjoying this glass. I put out whiskey reviews on Wednesdays and cocktail recipes on Fridays, so if you want to see more, make sure you scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Sláinte.